Hello, my name is Ella, and I will be taking you through the APA 7th edition Quick Reference Guide. We'll be going over where to find it, how to read it, and finally we'll have some formatting tips for you at the end. So let's get started.
The first thing we're going to go over is where you can find this quick reference guide. The answer is Sheridan Library. Once you make it to this Sheridan Library page, we're going to scroll down to Citing. From here, we're going to click on APA Style, and here is our quick reference guide. This is the copy that you guys will receive when you click on it, but I have also included a sectioned version where you can see the differences and what will be used for each piece. Here is an overview of what our modified quick reference guide will look like. Please note that the reference list information will be in yellow or with the oak tree symbol, the in-text citation information will be in blue or with a flower symbol, and finally, quotation information will be in green or with the quotations next to it. Let's begin with our reference list citations. You can think of these as the root to the rest of our citation information. Let's start with how to read the guide. The first thing we need to do is take a look at our source type. Our source type will be located at the top of each table, whether that's a book, a journal article, a newspaper or magazine article, a website, or any other media format. In the first column of every table, there will be some source variation. We want to match up the source that we have with the details that are listed. For example, a web page with author and date. You'll also see an example of what each citation should look like at the top middle of every table. This example is for the reference template just below it. Let's go through an example of what this would look like. I have an article on the left that I'm going to use as my example. I know that this is a website, so I'm going to scroll down to our website table. In terms of source variation, I'm looking at a website with an author and date, as listed here. So I'm going to be looking at this citation template here. The first piece of information I'm going to need is our author. I'm going to need a year, month, and day, which is right here. The title of my webpage is going to be this right here, and the site name is going to be Very Well Mined. Finally, the last piece of information that we need, because it's found digitally, is our URL, which is going to be located in our search bar. When looking for our site name, we'll usually find it at the top middle of our page, but it could be on the left. When looking for our page name, it will usually be a little lower than that. Now that we have all this information, it's time to put it together. The first thing that we're going to need is our author's last name. When it mentions author like this, it means the author's last name. So we're going to write Cherry followed by a comma, and then the first initial followed by a period. If this author had a middle name, let's say A, it would go after our first initial just like this. Next, we need our date. So the year comes first, 2023, then our month spelt out, so February, and then our day, 24, followed by a period. Next is our title, which I can copy and paste from here, and we want to make sure that it's in italics. You can do this by pressing Ctrl or Command I. The next piece of information we need is our site name, which is Very Well Mined in this case, followed by a period. This one's not in italics. And the last piece of information we need is our URL. Some things to take note of. For multiple authors, we want to follow the format that is listed under journal articles, which will be right here. So every author will be followed by a comma and then an ampersand in between our second last and last author. When using the guide, take note of any italics that may have been used. Use the example that is provided to figure out what the guide is telling you to do, such as where the italics are supposed to go. And that's it for our reference list. Let's move on to in-text citations. When looking for our in-text citation information, we're mostly going to be looking at our second page here. See the notes in blue and in green. We're also going to be looking at the final column in our tables. We want to take whatever source we have used, so earlier I was using web page with author and date, and follow all the way across to the right-hand side. So this is what our in-text citation format should look like. When creating our in-text citation, we want to take the information that is in our reference list and then turn them into our in-text citations. Most of this information we should already have. Again, I'm going to be taking web page with author and date, and I'm going all the way across, and there's 3 parts that we have here: author, year, and page or para. Para means paragraph and is used when we don't have pages. The abbreviation for pages is P. which can be seen here in our newspaper and magazine articles. In-text citations need to be used anytime you take information from outside of your head and then put it onto your paper. There are 2 main ways to do this. First is quoting, the other is paraphrasing. Quoting is copying and pasting information directly onto the paper. Paraphrasing is taking that information and putting it into your own words. Both of these need to be cited in text. The difference between these two is that quoting requires the page or para number, and paraphrasing does not. So notice how this right here is directly copied and pasted word for word from this website. This second one is my own words and is the same ideas but just worded differently. Now let's go over how to actually cite these in text. The first piece of information, as listed over here, is our author. We just need the last name, so we're just going to write Cherry, but not that first initial. Next is our year, 2023, and again, we don't need any other date information, just the year. Each part is going to be separated by a comma. And because this is a direct quotation, we're also going to need the para number. Our para number is found by counting down from the very first paragraph. So this is our quotation here, and this is in our second paragraph. So this would be listed as para 2. If this was a page instead of a paragraph, we just write P instead, like that. This citation is followed by a period. We're not going to have a period inside of our quotation, just after our in-text citation. Think of this as inclusive. We want to include our citation in our sentence. For our paraphrasing, we're also going to put our citation inside the sentence, and we're just going to take this last name and our year. So Cherry and 2023. Those are our 2 in-text citations. When using quotations, there's just one final thing that we need to be aware of, and that is how long our quotation is. There is a different format for quotations that are under 40 words versus over 40 words. All of that information is listed on our second page or here in this green section of our modified quick reference guide. Here I have a quotation, and this is 50 words, so this will count as a long quotation. Way we will format this, instead of formatting it like we did here with the quotes, is we're going to indent our quote. There's this increase indent button here, which gives us a space here. For our in-text citation, it's very similar to our direct quote citation, except it's going to go after our period. Better example of this is in Owl Purdue's APA 7 guide. For our in-text citation, it's going to have the same author and year, but our para is going to be 3. And that's it for our in-text citations. Here's what we got so far. We have our reference list citation, our short quotation, our long quotation, and finally a paraphrasing citation. The next thing we need to do is format it correctly. The first page of our quick reference guide gives us some information about the formatting of our paper. It should be double spaced, have 1-inch margins on all sides, the first line of each paragraph should be indented, should use a Times New Roman or similar serif font, and use a 12-point font. Our title page should have our page number in the top right corner, And our title should be bolded and centered with our name, the college's name, the course code and course name, the instructor's name, and the due date. The title of our essay should also be bolded and centered on the second page as well. Let's put it all together and format this paper. The first thing we need to do is insert page numbers. There's two ways to do this. We can double click into the header section, go to page number, top of the page, and select the one aligned to the right. Or we can go into our search bar and search up page number. Again, we're going to select top of the page and select the number aligned to the right. Just make sure that our page number is going to be in the same font and font size as the rest of our essay. Up next is double spacing everything. Select all of our text by using Ctrl A or Command A and select 2.0 or double under paragraph spacing. Notice that my title is bolded and centered on the second page as well. Let's go to format our reference list. We need to make sure that our reference list is in alphabetical order and that our references title is bolded and centered. The final thing we need to make sure we have is hanging indents. The way that we can do this is by selecting our references, going to this little arrow next to paragraph, finding indentation, and under special, we want to select hanging. Click OK, and it should apply hanging indents to all of our references. The other way we can do this is by selecting our references and searching for paragraph settings in our search bar. Then the rest of the process is the same. Go to indentation, special, then hanging, then OK. And there we go. We want to make sure that our reference page is on a page by itself and not part of a previous page like this. The way that you can do this is by pressing Ctrl or Command Enter or searching for a page break in the search bar. Using a page break ensures that if we type further on a previous page, our references page will always be on a page by itself. And that's everything. If you have any further questions, you can book an appointment with a tutor or with a librarian. Both will be able to help you with any questions that you might have. Happy citing!